Something strange is going on behind the scenes of Dutton Ranch, and most fans have no idea. The show just broke streaming records, got renewed for Season 2 before Season 1 even ended, and then lost its own creator right before the finale aired. So what really happened? Why did the man who built this show walk away at the exact moment it became a hit? And what does this mean for Beth, Rip, and the future of the entire Yellowstone world? Stick around, because the real story here is way bigger than anything that happened on screen. Before we get into the drama, let's quickly catch you up on what Dutton Ranch actually is. This show is the newest spin-off from the Yellowstone universe, and it follows two fan-favorite characters, Beth Dutton and Rip Wheeler, played by Kelly Riley and Cole Hauser. After everything that happened in the original Yellowstone series, Beth and Rip decided to leave Montana behind and start a new life together. But instead of finding peace, they ended up in South Texas, right in the middle of a brutal fight with a rival ranch that wants to take everything they are trying to build. The show also brings in young Carter, played by Finn Little, who has grown up a lot since we last saw him. Alongside the returning cast, the show added two huge names to the mix, Ed Harris and Annette Bening, both of whom are Oscar-nominated actors. That alone told fans this show was being treated as a major project, not just a side story. When Dutton Ranch finally premiered, it did not just do well. It broke records. In its first week alone, the show pulled in almost 13 million viewers around the world. That made it the biggest original series launch in the history of its streaming platform. It also shot straight to #1 on the weekly streaming charts, beating out almost everything else people were watching that week. So on paper, everything looked perfect. A hit show, a passionate fan base, big-name actors, and a story that picks up right where fans left off. But underneath all that success, something was already falling apart behind the camera. And that is where things start to get interesting, because the person who created this show and guided it through its entire first season would not even be there to see how Season 1 ended. That sets up the real question fans are asking right now. If the show was doing this well, why did its own creator leave before the story even finished airing? That is exactly what we are going to dig into next. Picture this. A brand new show has not even finished its first season, and the network already picks up the phone to greenlight another one. That is exactly what happened with Dutton Ranch, and it tells you just how much confidence the studio had in this story. Most shows have to prove themselves for weeks after the finale airs before anyone talks about a second season. This one did not even get that chance to prove anything, because the decision was already made. The renewal came just days before the Season 1 finale hit screens. Think about that timing for a second. The studio did not wait to see how fans would react to the ending. They did not wait for reviews or ratings to settle. They saw enough in the weekly numbers to know this show was a winner, and they moved fast to lock it in. That kind of quick decision usually only happens when a show is pulling in huge audiences week after week, and that is exactly what was happening here. Now let's talk about who is actually coming back. Kelly Riley and Cole Hauser are confirmed to return as Beth and Rip, which was never really in doubt since they are the heart of the entire show. Alongside them, other familiar faces like J.R. Villarreal are expected to return as well. Fans should also expect a few new characters to join the story, though those names have not been fully revealed yet. Here's where things get a little less certain. As of right now, there is no confirmed release date for Season 2. No trailer has dropped and no exact filming schedule has been shared publicly. Based on how similar shows in this universe have been produced, the most realistic guess is that filming could begin sometime in late 2026, which would likely push the actual release into the first half of 2027. That might feel like a long wait, but it lines up with how other shows connected to this world have been handled in the past. So here's what we know for certain. The show is coming back, the two lead stars are locked in, and the studio clearly believes in this story. What we do not know yet is exactly when it will return or who else might be joining the cast. But there is one more piece of this puzzle that matters even more than the release date, and it has to do with who is actually running the show behind the scenes now. That is where things take an unexpected turn. Now let's get into the part of this story that fans are really talking about. The man who created Dutton Ranch, a writer named Chad Feehan, walked away from the show before it even premiered. Think about that for a moment. He built this world, wrote the scripts, shaped the characters, and guided the show through its entire first season of filming. Then, right before viewers got to see any of it, he was gone. No dramatic farewell, no big explanation, just a quiet exit that left a lot of people asking questions. The official reason for his departure has never been fully explained. Reports simply say the circumstances around his exit remain unclear, which in the entertainment world usually means there is more to the story than anyone is willing to say out loud. When a creator leaves a show they built from scratch, especially right before it launches, it almost always points to some kind of conflict happening behind closed doors. And that brings us to the rumors. Some entertainment reporters have suggested there was tension on set involving Kelly Reilly, Cole Hauser, and executive producer Taylor Sheridan, the man behind the entire Yellowstone universe. Now, it is important to be careful here, because these are reports and industry talk, not confirmed facts. Nobody involved has come out and given a full account of what actually happened. But when multiple outlets are hearing similar things from their sources, it usually means something real was going on, even if we do not know the full picture yet. So who is taking over now that Feehan is out? The new showrunner is Benjamin Cavill, a writer known for his work on the show Justified. This is actually a pretty telling choice. Justified was praised for its sharp dialogue and its focus on tense character-driven conflict, which suggests the studio wants someone who can bring that same energy into the world of Dutton Ranch. Reilly and Hauser are staying on as executive producers themselves, so they clearly still have a say in where the story goes, even with a new person steering the ship. What this all means is simple. Season 2 is not just going to be a continuation of Season 1. It is going to be shaped by a completely different creative voice, working under the shadow of a departure that still has not been fully explained. And that raises a bigger question. Will this change help the show grow into something even better? Or will it shake the foundation that made Season 1 such a huge hit in the first place? That is exactly what we need to look at next. Let's shift gears now and talk about the story itself, because this is the part everyone really wants answers to. Season 1 ended on a brutal note, with Carter caught up in a kidnapping storyline that left his fate hanging in the air. That is the first and biggest question Season 2 has to answer. Does he make it out safely, or does the show take things in a darker direction? Given how intense this world has always been, nothing is off the table. Then there is the rival ranch conflict, which was the main source of tension all through Season 1. Beth and Rip did not leave Montana to find peace. They left to build something new, and instead they walked straight into a fight for survival. The battle is far from over. If anything, a new showrunner coming in often means raising the stakes even higher, not lowering them. Expect the pressure on Beth and Rip's relationship to grow, especially with a new creative voice looking to leave his own mark on the story. Now let's talk about the bigger names joining this world. Ed Harris and Annette Bening came in as major additions, and right now their full role in the story is still somewhat of a mystery. Actors of that level rarely sign on for small side roles. It is very likely that Season 2 expands their presence and gives them a bigger part to play in the main conflict, possibly even connecting them directly to the rival ranch storyline. There is also the Taylor Sheridan factor. He has taken a much more hands-on approach with other shows in this universe, guiding stories closely from the writing side. With a brand new showrunner stepping in, many fans are wondering if Sheridan will step up his involvement to help guide the tone and direction, especially after the uncertainty around the creator change. It would not be surprising if his fingerprints become more visible in Season 2, even if he is not credited as the main writer. At the end of the day, here is where things stand. The show is coming back, the two lead actors are locked in, and a new showrunner is taking the story into a fresh direction after a departure that still has not been fully explained. Whether that change ends up strengthening the story or shaking its foundation is something only time will tell. One thing is certain, though, Dutton Ranch is far from finished telling its story, and the road ahead looks just as unpredictable as everything that came before it. If you want to stay updated the moment new details drop, make sure you are subscribed, because this story is only getting started. While the studio and the cast keep most of their cards close to their chest, fans have not stayed quiet at all. Online forums and social media have been flooded with theories ever since the Season 2 renewal was announced, and some of these ideas are honestly pretty interesting to think about. One theory getting A lot of attention is the idea that Carter's kidnapping storyline might connect to something bigger than just a simple rescue plot. Some fans believe this could be the moment that finally forces Beth to confront a side of herself she has tried to leave behind. Anyone who watched the original Yellowstone knows Beth is capable of going to extreme lengths when someone she loves is threatened, and fans are hoping Season 2 leans into that side of her character again. Another popular discussion online is about how the new showrunner might change the tone of the show. Some fans who enjoyed the sharp, tense style of Justified are excited to see Benjamin Cavell bring that same energy into this story. Others are a little more cautious, worried that a change this big so early in the show's life could shift the feel of the series away from what made Season 1 so successful in the first place. Both sides make fair points, and honestly, nobody will know for sure until the new episodes actually air. There is also a lot of talk about how this show connects to the rest of the Yellowstone universe. With another spin-off following Case Dutton already airing on a different network, fans keep asking whether these two shows will ever cross paths again. While nothing has been confirmed, the idea of a reunion between the Dutton siblings down the line is something a lot of longtime fans would love to see, even if it is just a small moment. At the end of the day, this is what makes being a fan of this world so fun. The waiting, the guessing, and the theories are almost as exciting as the show itself. Nobody knows exactly how Season 2 will play out, but based on everything we have covered here, one thing is clear. This story is far from over, and the biggest moments might still be ahead of us. If you have your own theory about what happens next, drop it in the comments, because we would love to hear what you think. Let's zoom out for a second, because Dutton Ranch is not just one show standing on its own. It is part of a much bigger picture, and what happens with Season 2 could shape the future of the entire Yellowstone franchise. This universe has already given us several spin-offs, each one telling a different part of the Dutton family story, and the studio clearly sees huge value in keeping that world alive. It helps to remember that this show almost did not happen the way fans expected. Before it even premiered, Dutton Ranch faced delays that pushed its release back by a full year. At the time, there were reports that a major merger happening behind the scenes of the studio was affecting production schedules across several shows, not just this one. So the fact that Dutton Ranch still managed to launch, break streaming records, and get renewed for a second season says a lot about how much confidence people had in this story, even after a rocky path to get there. This also matters because of what it means for other projects tied to this world. There is already another spin-off following Case Dutton, airing on a different network, and the success of Dutton Ranch puts pressure on that show and any future projects to perform just as well. Studios pay close attention to numbers like this. When one show in a franchise becomes the biggest launch in a platform's history, it raises expectations for everything connected to it. There is also a financial side to this that fans do not always think about. Big-name actors like Ed Harris and Annette Bening do not sign on to side projects. Their involvement signals that the studio is treating this show as a long-term investment, not a quick spin-off meant to fade away after one season. That kind of commitment usually means more resources, a longer planned run, and a real effort to keep the story going for years, not just one more season. So when you put all of this together, Season 2 is not just about finishing Carter's storyline or figuring out what happens between Beth and Rip. It is about proving that this franchise can keep growing even after the original show ended. If Season 2 performs the way Season 1 did, do not be surprised if this world keeps expanding even further, with more spin-offs, more crossovers, and more stories still waiting to be told. The Dutton family saga clearly is not finished yet, and if the numbers keep climbing the way they have so far, it might just be getting started. So after everything we have covered, let's bring this all together. Dutton Ranch broke records right out of the gate, got renewed before its own finale even aired, and then lost the person who created it, all within the span of just a few months. That is not a normal path for a show to take, and it is exactly why so many fans are paying close attention to what happens next. Here is what we actually know for sure. Beth and Rip are coming back, played by the same two actors who made this story work in the first place. A new showrunner with a strong track record is stepping in to guide the next chapter, and the studio has already shown, through casting choices and quick decision-making, that they are treating this show as a long-term project, not a one-season experiment. But here is what we still do not know. And honestly, This is the part that keeps fans coming back for more. We do not know exactly why the original creator left. We do not know how much the story might shift under new creative leadership. We do not know if Carter makes it out of his kidnapping storyline or what that means for Beth going forward. And we do not know exactly when Season 2 will actually arrive. That mix of confirmed facts and open questions is really what makes this such an interesting story to follow, even outside of the show itself. Sometimes what happens behind the camera ends up being just as dramatic as anything written into the script. Whether the change in leadership ends up strengthening this world or testing it, one thing is clear. The people behind this franchise are not slowing down anytime soon, and the story of the Dutton family is far from finished. If you found this breakdown helpful, the best thing you can do is stay ahead of the news instead of finding out after everyone else. Subscribe now so you do not miss the moment new details drop, whether that is a trailer, a release date, or news about who else might be joining the cast. And if you have a theory about how this all plays out, drop it in the comments below. We read every single one, and honestly, some of the best theories on this show have come straight from the comments section. Thanks for watching, and we will see you in the next one.